Now here's an introduction that is it'll be new to some of you because there are lots of people who think they know who I am but really don't. Lots of folks who have heard me over the years but still really don't know who I am. Let me give you a brief introduction as to Algernon Watts. Algernon Watts was born to Venus Ogaro and John Watts, or Levance Watts, both of Montserrat. My mom came here to Antigua when she was a wee little child, I think 2 years old or somewhere thereabouts. So she has no history of Montserrat, but she's still a born Montserratian. My father lived in Montserrat, spent most of his time between Montserrat and Canada. Myself, I was born, we were living in Pickett's. And the story of my birth is it's a toss-up. It depends on which family member you ask. Because some of them say that she had a friend in Bendels. She had friends in Bendels and spent time in Bendels. And, the transportation, it was not like today, where every tick the clock ticks, there's a vehicle passing by. And so she went to Bendels and labor pain go. Then other family members said that she was a fighter, my mother. She was a fighter and she stood up for her friends. She stood up for her friends. And the story that I got from her was that she had a friend living in Bendels, and it was reported that the friend was a victim of domestic violence. And the word got to her that the friend's live-in boyfriend put some licks on her, okay? Now, she was big pregnant with me. Rather than leave that to the people them to handle their own business, she got a ride from my godfather. They call him Coke, Freeston from Pickett's. And that's what I was told. He dropped her to Bendels, and somehow, somewhere down there, she got the labor pains, and Nurse Baines brought me to bed in Bendels. So there you go, for those people wondering, where's Serpent really from? It's between Pickett's, Bendels, and Potters. Somewhere in between there. That much is true. I was born between Pickett's, Bendels, and Potters. Now, I was the first grandchild for my grandparents, at least my grandmother for sure, and my grandparents. First nephew for my aunts and uncles. I was the first, period, full stop. So, kind of spoiled child. And of course, I was born a very handsome baby. And back then, it was traditional for them to give gifts. But my family, being of very little means, didn't have gifts to give. So they all gave me a name. They all gave names. And when I tell people I have so many names, they thought I was joking. They say, but the understanding is my name is Neas, Nias, Nicholas, Nicodemus, Abraham, Obadiah, Ezekiel, Algernon, Cadmus, Jason, Joseph, Jr., Calvin, Cordova, Watts, the third, Esquire. Okay, so, yeah. But I go by ACJW. You can figure out which of the names make up ACJW. Those are my initials. And from very, very, very humble beginnings. Very humble beginnings. I would go to school, most times barefoot. Okay, I had one pair of shoes, and my grandmother, Beatrice Agaro, she na play with church. Okay? So that one pair of shoes, that's your church shoe. I've said repeatedly. The first time I can remember, apart from school clothes, I think the first time that I wore a brand new outfit that was mine, and only mine, might have been when I was going to Trinidad. I was leaving Antigua to go to Trinidad. I can't recall me wearing a brand new outfit prior to that. Possibly, but I just can't remember. Now, hand-me-downs were the order of the day back then. And my grandmother, she was the head of the Dorcas Society, or the Welfare Society in the Seventh-day Adventists. So I had the pick of the litter, okay, but still hand-me-downs anyway. I had an uncle who was just a few years older than myself, and if you didn't know the family that well, you thought that he was my brother, but he wasn't my brother, he was my uncle. He was the last of my grandmother's children. He passed away a few years ago, God rest his soul. But yeah, I would benefit from his hand-me-downs. He would benefit from his brother's hand-me-downs, and that's just the way it was. Spent a number of years in Trinidad. Went to school in Chaguanas Senior Sec, and learned a few life lessons in Trinidad. Some that I probably should not have learned, but hey, it's what made me who I am. Okay. I spent a few years after graduating school in Trinidad, working here, working there, trying to eke out a living, but I was never really happy. I always wanted to come back home and make a contribution. So when I got back to Antigua, I decided, hey, this is my home. I'm here. I'll be doing whatever I have to do to make a living here for myself and anybody who came after. And I got back here and worked at Computer Products for a while. That's my first job in Antigua, Computer Products. Met some lovely people there, though. Some lovely people that to this day, they're still very, very close to me. One person in particular, I want to signal out, Miss Codner Irish. That's a lady of ladies, yeah? And every time I see Miss Irish anywhere, I don't care what I'm doing, I have to stop and say, hey, Miss Irish, how are you doing? She was the closest thing to an angel I ever met. Big up to you, Miss Irish. All right? Then I left, I went to Half Moon Bay. As a young man at Half Moon Bay, I worked in the electrical department, in the maintenance department, in the electrical unit. At one point, they felt so comfortable with me at one point that after Mosquito killed me, that after Kenneth Christian left and went to APUA and Devon Jarvis left, I think, and went to Mill Reef, I was the only person in the electrical department for a little while. Yeah, so I have a few little skills under my hand. I'm a mechanic, a little bit of an electrician. I can do a little bit of construction. I can survive, all right? But I was never really, really happy with that. Mosquito bite me. Yeah, I was never really happy with that. I don't know. I went into the media. I was recommended to Winston Derrick and Julian Rogers, I think by Colin Counselor Derrick. Well, that's what I was told. And so I want to signal him out and say thank you very much for that. I was a rubber rouser. Everybody knows that. I am the type of person, I would go to an event and I had to be the loudest voice in the event. Grinding people, that was my thing. People got scared when Serpent came around. But I think I've matured since then. I've matured. So I started Observer 2001 as a one-day worker on Saturdays only because I was a very, very active bailiff. And I told him I really couldn't commit more time than that one day. But, hey, look, long story short, 21 years later, I am not only an employee, I'm now the owner of the station. So I want to thank everybody who made that journey what it was. There were some challenges, but look, I'm there now, right? And that was just one more leg in life. And now I'm positioning myself for another leg in life to represent people.